Welcome. Calling to order this meeting of the San Francisco Ethics Commission on March 26, 2012. Thank you all for being here. Let me begin by calling the meeting to order and taking the roll. Commissioner Han.
Here.
Commissioner Rennie.
Here.
Let me note before we take public comment that matters related to the mayor's suspension of the sheriff that are the responsibility of the Ethics Commission will be handled and scheduled separately. They will begin with a preliminary hearing that will establish the rules and parameters for that process, and the dates and times for those proceedings will be posted consistent with our usual advance notice requirements. So again, nothing tonight will relate to that topic, but there will be public notice as soon as we have the dates arranged with the relevant players. So thank you very much. Let me return to the roll call and note that Commissioners Liu and Chair Herr have been excused for tonight. 3 members of the Commission constitutes a quorum to proceed with business. Let me start with public comment on matters appearing or not appearing on the agenda that are within the jurisdiction of the Ethics Commission.
Yes, you've probably reminded yourself recently a number of times, but let me take this opportunity to remind you again. You have already found someone guilty of official misconduct by unanimous vote of this body. There was no contention that it was not related to the office involved. And, of course, it was willful misconduct in the chairing of a public meeting in an open session with the cameras on. If the mayor is content to stand behind his appointees after they have been found guilty of official misconduct, why should you go to the trouble of determining official misconduct on someone else? If someone remains in their position, guilty or not guilty, what's the point? Not only did the mayor do nothing, but this library commissioner was reaffirmed as the president of her library commission by a unanimous vote, ostensibly as a reward for engaging in the misconduct and getting away with it. Actually, someone has been suspended. Someone else has been suspended based on the charges alone, but the Library Commission president was reaffirmed after having been found guilty. Do you know what they call it when someone abuses the public, squashes those who rely on democracy and expect decency, commits official misconduct, and make fools out of the Ethics Commission? They call it leadership. Those who run a private nonprofit that depends upon ripping off the city of millions of dollars all came down to the Library Commission and complimented on her leadership, and then, as I say, unanimously reaffirmed her in her position. What should we assume? That it's not important because it only harms democracy? The analogy would be if the sheriff was found guilty of misconduct and everyone reelected him because he had the ability to crack down on those stupid domestic violence complainers. If the mayor brings charges against someone for willful misconduct and they are still qualified to serve in his administration, as I say, what's the point? There used to be a saying that those who are poor are guilty until proven innocent, and the rich are innocent even after they're proven guilty. Apparently, our sheriff probably didn't know that he was that poor. I would suggest that until the actions of this body are taken seriously, you should refuse to act. If the mayor is not going to do his part, why should you do yours? I suppose the good news, and I'm out of time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Commissioners, Ray Hartz, Director, San Francisco Open Government. As the previous speaker mentioned, this body sent this letter to Mayor Lee regarding Jewel Gomez, who is the current president of the San Francisco Library Commission, recommending that she be removed from office. On February 2nd of this year, they reelected her, again unanimously. Actually, they only nominated her for president, I was at the meeting and made some comments to which she took offense.
He's the center of the universe and can say whatever he wants. Well, this is civil discourse. He cannot say whatever he wants. I know. Well,
You turn up the volume a little bit.
fucking bury him if I could walk out of here today. Everything's off, right?
We're going to have a gap because do need to talk to some attorneys. Yeah,
I'm getting a restraining order. The man is crazy. You don't joke about that. I'm sorry. Totally thinks he's the center of the universe and can say whatever he wants. Well, this is civil discourse. He cannot say whatever he wants. I know. Well, people who would fucking bury him if I could walk out of here today.
That was Ms. Gomez saying she knew 12 people who would fucking bury me.
Everything's off, right?
we're going to have a gap because we're only get 3 hours and 20 minutes. Just the Wi-Fi's been shut down.
I'm like this. I'm thinking.
Some of this probably over here.
I actually did grow up in the ghetto. I speak very nicely now, but I did grow up in the ghetto, and I used to carry a straight face. And now I'm getting around my Peter. His little thing that he carries around.
We're hanging with you.
I apologize for the poor quality of that, but basically what she said was, if she could have, she would throw the fucking microphone at me. She would have garroted me with the microphone cord. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because the following week she went to the San Francisco Police Department and filed a complaint against me, and that was the comment she was making. She didn't sound very upset to me. She was laughing and joking with other members of the commission and the commission secretary, and yet she went to the police department and filed a police report, which basically said she was in fear of me.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Patrick Minette-Shaw. I've been before you for your last several meetings, asking you when you were going to schedule a hearing on my 2 sunshine complaints that were referred to you regarding official misconduct against your Executive Director, Mr. St. Croix. It's been over 5 months, going on 6. When are you going to schedule a hearing open to the public on Sunshine Complaint 11-013 and 11-014. I've been here begging you to schedule that hearing. I deserve my day in court. As the previous speakers have testified, this commission had 18 willful failure and official misconduct charges referred to it that you simply tossed out. You did nothing. Then Jewel Gomez came along. You finally took action and referred her for official misconduct to the mayor. Following your finding, I went up to her after the meeting and I congratulated her as being the first person in history that this commission has ever referred to the mayor for action. Her response was to bend over, picking up her book bag and her jacket, and she snapped her jacket at me, trying to strike me with it, because she didn't like my apparent sarcasm. I wasn't trying to be sarcastic. I was just offering her congratulations for being the first person to have been found guilty. Since then, the mayor has done nothing, and he knows and you know that her behavior was on-duty behavior, which following the then Airport Commissioner Joseph Mazzola appeal, an appellate court ruled that official misconduct can only be brought for actions related to one's actual job duties. So this commission has no business hearing any kind of official misconduct case against Sheriff Margarini, no matter how reprehensible his actions may or may not have been, because they were off-duty behavior, and it occurred before he was sworn in. It had nothing to do with his job duties. If you conduct some kind of kangaroo court hearing, and the mayor hasn't acted on duty official misconduct of Ms. Gomez, but you pursue off-duty misconduct against Sheriff Margarini, you will be conducting a mockery of ethical behavior.
Good afternoon. I'm Peter Warfield, Executive Director of Library Users Association. The previous speakers have spoken, I think, very vividly of the unfortunate and worse than unfortunate behavior of the Library Commission President, Jewel Gomez, at a meeting in which she shouted down a member of the public and prevented her from having her right to speak and make public comment under free speech and sunshine laws in the state and in the city. As was previously pointed out, there were 18 referrals from the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force. This was a unanimous 6-0 ruling of willful violation, and they sent it to you. You found that there was willful misconduct and official misconduct, but for various reasons sent a separate letter to the mayor essentially recommending that she be sacked. Nothing has happened of the sort. Instead, as you've heard also, she was kept in office by the mayor's appointees, all 7 of the library commissioners, and they unanimously elected her president once again after your finding, and she stays in position as Library Commission President. Her misbehavior was very clearly in the core of what she was doing as Library Commission President. She, as President, is in charge of running the meetings, and the violation to the member of the public and to everybody really was core to her responsibility as president of the commission. Others testified at the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force and personally that the behavior of shouting down a member of the public was so disturbing and distressing to them when they were in the room, and I'm not talking about myself or any of the others who have spoken today, testified that they felt truly intimidated and frightened to speak and did not speak at the commission meeting as a result of this behavior. For your action to have absolutely no visible impact whatsoever on the Library Commission, no impact whatsoever from the mayor, and an endorsement of the bad behavior by re-election, I think is scandalous and raises serious questions as to whether and how you'll act in your upcoming matter. Thank you.
Is there any other public comment at this time? Seeing none, I'm going to propose a change in the order of the next few items. When the agenda was determined, we didn't realize that somebody from the library staff was going to be here. And out of respect for that person's time, we're going to move that item up now to deal with the final attention to the SIA, and then return to the random audits and public finance issues that involve all of us. Is that?
Start of the meeting.
I apologize. The staff did tell me about it. I was of the view that it would not affect the public comment items. Let's take the proposed amendments to the Statement of Incompatible Activities for the Public Library. Would you like to introduce the process, Ms. Ng?
Certainly.
Thank you.
At its last meeting, the commission initially approved the draft changes to the Statement of Incompatible Activities for the San Francisco Public Library. And since that time, the city's DHR, the Department of Human Resources, the Ethics Commission, and the Public Library engaged in meet and confer with the unions that represent the employees who are affected by the SIA. Because we have satisfied the meet and confer obligations under the law, the Commission may now proceed to finally adopt the proposed changes. And once they're finally adopted, what we will do is send them to the library. And I'm happy to answer any questions. And Donna Marion from the library is also here.
Hello, Ms. Marion. Do you want to add anything to that status report?
Well, I just want to reaffirm that the library did have the meet and confer and receive no objections.
Do the commissioners have any questions for Ms. Ng or Ms. Marion?
They stand as we left them at the last meeting.
Mm-hmm. You take public comment.
Yeah, well, you should have a motion first.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion on the proposal that's before us now that all of the steps have been carried out, and then invite public comment on the motion.
So moved. I would move that we accept the amendments as approved at the last meeting.
And I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Any public comment on the proposal about the SIA?
Patrick Matshaw. I did not see in the library's amended Statement of Incompatible Activities holding the position of Commission President following a finding that the Ethics Commission found her in willful misconduct of the Sunshine Ordinance. One would reasonably expect that if Ms. Gomez was referred to the mayor for removal for official misconduct on duty, that it would be embedded in the SIA and that there would be some formal action taken against her. To the extent that there is not anything in the SIA addressing willful misconduct on the job, the whole SIA process is also made a mockery. You can't have library commission presidents attempting to strike a member of the public, that would be me, which you didn't do a thing about or lift a finger to follow up with the mayor, that the good Miss Gomez was first found in official misconduct, and then she attempted to strike a member of the public. That behavior, had I pursued it, could have been criminal. And there's nothing in the SIA that addresses potential criminal striking of a member of the public in City Hall and allowing her to keep serving on the Library Commission. You need to go back to the SIA drawing board and embed in every SIA for every city department that official misconduct is automatically grounds for removal.
Yes, good afternoon, Commissioners. I did appear at several previous hearings on this item. I'm sorry that I was not here the last time when it was initially approved, because there are a number of objections that I have made previously, and I want to reiterate now. There's no department in this city where the private influence is a greater problem, and in fact, there's no department that has greater pride in the fact that they are a public-private partnership. They have this idea that if the library would be required to follow the rules that the rest of the city follows, that they'd be in trouble all the time. Well, voila, that's exactly why they should have to follow the rules that the rest of the city has to follow. Let me just give you one small example. This is the private entities report that they have to submit to the California Attorney General. The private part of their private public partnership is the Friends of the Public Library. On the front page of this, it says, did you receive any funding from any governmental resource? No. If you turn to page 15, the question is, did you receive anything of value from a governmental entity without charge? Again, zero, zero, zero. For the past 5 years, they contend they received nothing of value in services or facilities from the San Francisco Public Library, which of course is nonsense. They use the facilities for all kinds of things. They sell naming opportunities, they gather books, they gather donations. What they get from the library side is this lack of disclosure. This is a scandal that a department like this is basically privately run. All of their policy determinations are balanced against the interest of this private entity. And in fact, this is the essential idea of every con artist. You know, it's called hubris. As far as they're concerned, responsibility is for fools. I hope you understand that these two things go together. If corruption were not synonymous with responsibility, abuse would not be synonymous with leadership. There's no accountability because they've got enough money to pay off everybody you could go and complain to. And one of the places we can start is this statement of incompatible activities. Make it as strict as the system allows. Thank you.
Commissioners Ray Hartz, Director, San Francisco Open Government. On March the 1st, the Friends of the Public Library, I'd like this to remain on the overhead because I'll be using a number of documents there. The Friends of the San Francisco Public Library issued this report and presented it before the Library Commission. And basically, this is what you can glean from the report. They said they raised a total revenue by source of $3.757 million. They provided program support to library programs for $750,000, which leaves only $3 million unaccounted for. In addition, what they did not include in the report, which I got from this, which is an audited statement that the Friends of the Library are required to provide the city librarian each year, was that they also drew down their assets by $2.22 million. That was not even mentioned. So basically, the Friends spent more than $5 million and accounted to the Library Commission for $750,000, period. Now, this is similar to what they always do when they present this to the Friends, to the Commission, and the Commission goes, oh, how wonderful. And it is a pattern that has consisted for at least the last 5 years, as reported by the Friends of the Library to Charity Navigator. I have repeatedly tried to get documents to look into this, and this is a Sunshine Task Force determination finding Luis Herrera, the city librarian, in violation for withholding public records. Because the only records they will release are what the Friends say they gave, and they have nothing that they have produced to substantiate anything that the library actually got, whether in cash or in kind. So the Library Commission is not watching what they're doing, although they're raising more than $5 million a year and spending another $2 million of priorly raised assets. The Library Commission has no idea where that money goes, and what they're spending it on. The only one who does is Mr. Herrera, and because I'm talking about this, it relates to the statement of incompatible activities. Mr. Herrera, for one specific thing, gets over $35,000 a year from the Friends to spend at his discretion. And he has provided no documents to show other than what he spends it on is taking people to lunch, paying for dues, and other things. And I've tried to get a hold of the city budget to see if the library actually pays. I find it kind of hard to believe that we have the Librarian of the Year and the city budget doesn't include his dues for the National Library Association and the California Library Association. Something is rotten in the state of Denmark and at the Library Commission and especially at the Friends of the Public Library.
Hi, my name is Catherine Bremer. I'm an officer of the Library Chapter of SEIU Local 1021. I'm here to congratulate the library and our group for working hard to make this an agreement that the library workers could live with. And that's my perspective on it, is that the library, as you've discovered, is a special place with special kinds of conflicts or investment with literature. So it can be a problem. But I thank you so much, and I thank everyone at the library who worked so hard for this.
Peter Warfield, Library Users Association. I think that I also have come with some concerns, but I don't think that you should make life easier and less accountable for a library that's already sadly lacking in accountability. There are some cross-outs here. I just don't think that the conflicts that you thought were a potential problem need to be removed because here and there an employee or another may write a book or provide some kind of a service. The employees at the library presumably, we hope and expect, are well paid for their service and don't need to work for tutoring or educational institutions that provide services within the library, and so on and so forth. If they do, let it be public and let it be excused publicly. I have a problem on page 3 with activities called item 2, activities with excessive time demands. There's no clarity as to who determines whether those are excessive. It says absent from his or her assignments on a regular basis. What does that mean? Once, twice, 3 times, quarterly, that are demonstrated to interfere with the city librarian or employee's performance. Demonstrated by whom, to whom, totally vague. Even something like IMLS is what I think the president appointed our librarian to. Even small responsibilities in terms of time potentially can add up when you add travel time, preparation time, correspondence, appointment making, talking about it, and so on and so forth. The decision maker, item 2 on page 5, the public visibility for this is not specified, and I think the decision maker needs to be, this needs to be a process that's visible to the public and that's posted in a public place so that people can see what kinds of conflicts there are. I wanted to point out some conflicts at the library. The library gets donations from the Friends. Luis Herrera, $35,000 in a discretionary fund, 2 years in a row and more. What did the library Friends get? Naming opportunities. $1 million they boast in book sales. Most or all of them obtained through the library's collection assistance. Imbibe, a party that the library has after hours on given Fridays so that the Friends can use their facility to make money. Is any of that contractual? I don't think so. The main annual author dinner, the step sales where discarded books are put out by library workers and the money collected by the Friends, and then secrecy. I can show you a contract that says for the Bernal Library art project where they want to get rid of a mural, the Friends are swearing to secrecy the so-called community group that is dealing with this and is not allowed to say anything about their relationship with the Friends. That's not a good deal, and I'd like to see what in your statement of incompatibility deals with any of those conflicts. Thank you.
Good evening, David Pilpel. First, I wanted to recognize the very recent reappointment of Commissioner Hayon, a former member of the Library Commission. Anyway, and secondly, I wanted to support the final adoption of the amendments to the Statement of Incompatible Activities. We've discussed this at many meetings. Staff and of the Commission and of the Library have been very diligent. This is ripe and timely for your action, and I support the motion before you. Thanks.
Are there any other comments? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the vote. All in favor, please say aye. 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 Thank you very much. The next item is selection of random audits for 2011 Electoral Committee. Mr. St. Croix, would you or Ms. Engel or Ms. Shaik like to describe the process that we carry on and your estimate here?
Okay.
We have two. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's a little further away than usual. I apologize. Ms. Shaik from the staff will introduce the item on selection of random audits for 2011.
Okay. So as the memo from staff on this item recommends, we will be selecting 5 committees for audit, and they will be selected from 3 different levels of financial activity. And we will have a member of the public read out the names of the committees before we draw them from a box.
And I get to select the member of the public for, why don't we do different people for each of the 3 sets?
Okay, that's good. It sounds like it looks like we have a volunteer.
Yes. Would you like to do the
Yes.
the first, whatever set she considers first? Are there any questions, or do we take comment before the process, or is this simply procedural? Are you volunteering, or did you?
I had public comment on the selection. Could I make that now prior to?
Yes.
That? Okay. David Pilpel again. My concern.
You can take a seat. We're going to take public comment about the process or any questions, and then we will do the selection.
Thank you, David Pilpel. My concern was, given the number of committees in the total pool and the number to be selected from each category, it appears to be somewhat disproportionate in the $10,000 to $50,000 level. I understand that there are staffing concerns about resources to conduct the audits, but my suggestion is to increase the number selected to 6, having 2 from the $10,000 to $50,000 pool rather than 1, so that there's a proportionate selection of about 1 out of 6. This would provide, as you see, a somewhat disproportionate selection. It would obviously slightly extend the resources required to complete 6 audits rather than 5. But I just think that the selection ought to be proportionate to the number in the pool for each category. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment on this item?
Public comment. Patrick Manetshaw, here on my own time as always. I request that the public at this meeting be permitted to inspect the names in the containers used to randomly select committees for the audit, either before or after the audit selections have been made, whichever is least disruptive to your process. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me explain and also ask Ms. Shaik to help us here. On the second point, we do, as soon as we begin the process, she will explain how we do this, but we do make sure that all of the names that belong in that category are actually in the box before we do the drawing. Can you explain how the recommendation was developed about the allocation of committees from these amounts?
Okay, so in the past, the commission has set a precedent to presidents to audit a larger number of committees from greater financial activity levels than than the smaller activity levels, and also treasurers of smaller committees have indicated that that they are grassroots types of committees that don't necessarily have many resources and have asked that we focus our attention more on committees with higher levels of financial activity.
At this point, let's see if the commissioners have any questions or comments about the allocation or the process. Either of you?
Not really. I would just, the only comment I would have is that it does seem to me to make more sense to put our efforts into those committees that spend a much greater amount of money than the grassroots committees, which really have very limited resources. I think that makes more sense, but I'd welcome a comment. Mr. Pilpel, you seem to feel that we should have a more, that this is a disproportionate number. Is that what you're saying?
If I can respond, David Pilpel, it was just to increase the total number from 5 to 6 and to select 2 committees from the $10,000 to $50,000 pool so that that proportionality is maintained. It's not to select more, a lot more. I think the countervailing argument is that those committees that raise and spend over $100,000 tend to have professional assistance and tend to be more in compliance, and those at lower thresholds, although they're doing less activity, often have more problems that are uncovered. So it cuts both ways. All I was suggesting was just rough proportionality. Thanks.
And while we're discussing these, let me just share my thoughts. I came into this conversation concerned even about doing 5, but because I think the staff has been under a lot of pressure, has had a backlog in vacancies, and we don't want to, I'd rather not pile things on them that can only take place well down the road or that risk burdening them further. So I was even going to ask whether 5 was necessary. I think given this array that 5 is important, and I appreciate that the staff has made a good faith estimate that they can accomplish this number. For my part, I think that one in the lower 2 categories is sufficient. It's the fact that there will be audits in each category and that every committee is subject to the possibility of audit that really has the protective effect from the outset. And since we're not endeavoring to audit all of them, we actually are not trying to catch every possible violation. We are, as I understand this process, it's more to have everybody involved in the process know that there is a chance that they will in fact be audited randomly, as well as audited if there is a specific cause, reason for concern about them. So I would share with Commissioner Haon the idea that this allocation of tight resources seems like a reasonable one, although I appreciate the thinking about what the purpose of this all is. Seeing no further comment from the commissioners or from the public, why don't we proceed to the selections, and perhaps the 2 members of the public would help us by splitting up the work. Sir, would you be willing to read for the first group, read the names of the organizations that are in here? Ms. Scheich will explain what she would like you to do.
Absolutely.
All right. So as I hand these little pieces of paper to you, you will read off the committee name, and you will read off the committee, the financial activity level, so that other members of the public can cross-reference those names against this list, which is part of the memo.
Okay.
Part
So-
of which memo?
The audit selection memo.
Which is available as a public record, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Is it on the website?
Yes.
So can I ask, are we in this process separating them at the same time, or are you going to give him the $10,000 to $50,000?
I'm going to give him
as
all
one.
all the committees that are part of the first financial activity level, which is the 10,000 to 50,000.
Okay, thank you.
The 22 organization names, can I just read the organization name?
Yes, read the organization name, and everybody else can follow the list to make sure that every
It's in the
name-
right
all of them-
category.
Right.
As you read it, fold it in half and put it in the box.
Thank you.
For the
I will. You'll have to bear with me with folding. I have a pinched
Okay,
bruise.
don't worry. Okay, if you hand them to staff, they can fold and place them in for you.
All right, good.
As long as
Okay.
I'm
see
having
the
trouble
whole
with letter openers. Drop wrist. A couple weeks, my nerve will be back. Hopefully.
Good luck.
The first few are the Friends of Ethics.
And Mr. Pilpel?
Please read them in order, because it will be easier for everybody to look at the list and make sure that they're all in there.
Right. And Mr. Pilpel, would you be willing to do the third group after he does two of them? Thank you.
So the first one in this first category is Friends of Ethics Committee opposed to measures E and F. And the next one is Committee opposing forced male circumcision. It's a pity that didn't end up on the ballot. I would have voted to prevent it, all right? Committee to stop mass demolition of housing, a committee to support proposition.
I think that's all that fit on here, but
That's fine.
that's sufficient to identify it.
The next one is San Franciscans for ballot measure reform, supported by Supervisor Scott Wiener. Students First, yes on H. Michael Evans for Sheriff, 2011.
Just
follow the ones.
Oh, right. Got it. Sorry.
Terry Baum for Mayor, 2011. Committee to elect Cesar Oscarunas for Mayor of San Francisco, 2011. Forgive my pronunciation, Oscar. The next one is Building Owners and Managers Association of San Francisco, Political Action Committee, ballot issues, AKA BOMA SF PAC ballot issues. The next one is the San Francisco Building and Construction Trades Council, political organization of workers for employees' rights, Power PAC. The next one is the San Francisco Coalition for Responsible Growth, Political Action Committee. The next one is the San Francisco Young Democrats. The next one is the San Francisco Sheriff's Managers and Supervisors Political Action Committee. The next one is the District 11 Democratic Club. The next one is Coleman Action Fund for Children Committee. The next one is D10 Forward, sponsored by the San Francisco Building and Construction Trades Council. The next one is San Francisco Deputy Sheriff's Association Political Action Committee. The next one is Plan C, San Francisco PAC. The next one, San Francisco Women's Political Committee. The next one is the Harvey Milk LGBT Democratic Club PAC. The next one is Educating Voters for Jobs Against Avalos and Adachi for Mayor 2011, a coalition of police and construction workers unions. And the final one in this category is the Alice B. Toglas Lesbian and Gay Democratic Club PAC.
Thank you very much. If you want to stay, there's one. I'll ask you to do the second group as well. Shake the box, and who does the picking?
You should.
Would you be willing to? We will shake the box. Yes. And then we will ask our public assistant to make the selection, please.
Me?
Yes. You get to pick one,
All right,
and
I'm going to use my good hand.
okay.
Eyes closed.
That seems appropriate.
Just make sure there's one. Just one. Okay.
And the winner is Terry Baum for Mayor 2011.
Thank you very much. We have a second group that we would ask you to do, and then Mr. Pilpel has volunteered under duress to do the third group.
Oh, good, I'm running out of,
We don't want to overstrain.
yeah. All right, so this group, we have 10 committees.
Right, and this is the group of above 50,000 and up to 100,000.
The first one is the Municipal Attorneys Association, yes on C, no on D. Second, Committee for a Fair and Better San Francisco, no on G. Third, Bill Fazio for District Attorney 2011. 4, Vu Tren for SF District Attorney 2011. 5, Golden Gate Restaurant Association PAC. 6, the Asian Pacific Democratic Club PAC. 7, the San Franciscans for New Priorities in Dennis Herrera for Mayor 2011. 8, San Francisco Labor Council Labor and Neighbor Independent Expenditure Political Action Committee. Could I see that? Independent Expender. Okay, so this one's quite similar. It's the San Francisco Labor Council Labor and Neighbor PAC. And the final one, our friends, the Municipal Executive Association of San Francisco, PAC.
Okay. We'll shake and you can pick. Shake and bake. I'm hungry already, so we don't want to get.
I swear, on a stack of Bibles, my eyes are closed. And the award winner, San Francisco Labor Council Labor and Neighbor PAC.
It's 941562. Are the numbers on there?
Yes, you're correct. It's 941562.
Okay, just because, as you pointed out, there is a similarity. Thank you very much.
So I've done my ethical duty for the evening.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Now that you've set the standard, Mr. Pilpel will assist us with the category of 100,000 and above financial activity.
Feel free to double my salary as a result. Never mind.
Ours too.
Yes, absolutely. And we are folding?
No, yeah, your hand.
I'm just reading One California for All, Ye for A. San Francisco firefighters, Local 798, yes on C, no on D. SEIU, United Healthcare Workers West Political Issues Committee. Support Quality Neighborhood Schools for All, yes on H, supported by entrepreneur Joanna Reese and education reform advocates. Committee for Parental Choice and Religious Freedom, sponsored by the Jewish Community Relations Council. H, no, let parents decide, sponsored by and with major funding from United Educators of San Francisco. Fix Our Streets, yes on B. Yes on Proposition G, 2011. See additional page for full committee name. It was a longer name that involved SEIU and labor unions in support of Proposition G, a sales tax measure. Rebuilding San Francisco schools, yes on Proposition A. Yes on Proposition D, supported by Public Defender Jeff Adachi, Basic American Foods Executive George Hume, and business investor Michael Moritz. Standing Up for Working Families, yes on C, no on D, a coalition of teachers, nurses, firefighters, public employees, and healthcare advocates. And finally, San Franciscans, And finally, until the next stack is handed to me, San Franciscans United for Pension and Health Reform, yes on C, no on D, a coalition of public employees, taxpayers, and business groups. But wait, there's
More to
more.
come.
Yes. You remember our old friend, more to come? Yes. Adachi for mayor, 2011. Miyamoto for sheriff, 2011. Rosmir Karimi for sheriff, 2011. Chris Cunney for sheriff, San Francisco sheriff, 2011. Onik for district attorney, 2011. Gascon for DA, 2011. Charmine Bach for district attorney, 2011. And Ed Lee for mayor, 2011. And yet more. Progress for all. Building Owners and Managers Association of San Francisco Political Action Committee, Independent Expenditures, a.k.a. BOMA SF PAC IE. Committee for Effective City Management, a committee in support of Ed Lee for mayor, 2011. The Coalition for Sensible Government with major funding by San Francisco Association of Realtors. San Francisco Police Officers Association, Independent Expenditure Committee. Committee on Jobs, Government Reform Fund. SF Neighborhood Alliance for Ed Lee for mayor, 2011. Committee for a Safer San Francisco supporting Charmine Bach and opposing George Gascon for district attorney, 2011. San Francisco Police Officers Association Issues PAC. Unite Here, Local 2 PAC. I could tell you the longer name of Unite. Never mind. Service Employees International Union, Local 1021, Issues PAC. San Francisco Alliance for Jobs and Sustainable Growth, PAC. San Franciscans for Jobs and Good Government, supporting Ed Lee for mayor, 2011. Last but not least, City Residents Opposing Ed Lee for Mayor 2011, sponsored by American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFL-CIO, and AFSCME, California People.
I can see why you referred to doubling your salary. Clearly, voiceover is part of your experience.
And I thank you very much.
Okay, shaking is taking place.
There's SCIU, but not SI. Never mind.
Right, close enough to find the box, but
Yes.
all right, 3 of them. Right, we'll be selecting 3 from this group.
We have Ed Lee for mayor, 2011.
2 more.
Miyamoto for sheriff, 2011.
There's something about the ones on the races there, right? Aren't heavier than
Let's get a
those.
good one. And Adachi for mayor, 2011.
Thank you very much.
Thank
We
you very much.
appreciate your service.
As a city officer, I'm happy to serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night. The next item on the agenda is presentation of the public finance report. As noted here, after each election cycle involving publicly financed races, the staff assists us in reporting on execution of the program and answers many of the questions that we have about patterns and trends that may be taking place, and provides some very helpful information. I want to thank Ms. Scheich and the staff at all levels for bringing us another helpful and comprehensive report on the limited public financing program. Is there anything you want to add initially? I will then ask the commissioners if they have any questions or comments.
It was a very interesting election. We had many complicated questions. We didn't have an idle moment. It was the first time we administered the public financing program in a mayoral race, and it was a lot more work than we expected.
I think those words are apparent to all of us as we watch during the season, and I, for one, simply want to note that you all, and I mean the entire staff, handled an extremely complicated and unprecedented situation quite smoothly from my vantage point. Would either of the other commissioners either like to comment, or do you have any questions about the report that's been presented to us, or suggestions for future reports or issues?
I don't have any.
I just want to thank the staff for the good work. And I don't have any questions at this time, perhaps later on.
I would join in that. Yeah. And I would point out, too, that these reports are useful in future years. People refer back to them a lot. And a lot of times when candidates and media have inquiries, this is where the answers are embedded. So they're useful for us in reviewing what just happened, but they also get used again in years to come.
I'd also like to add that I have the impression that the charts are new. They may not be, but they were also a helpful addition to put things in context, actually take those numbers and translate them into visual impression was valuable to me, and I appreciated those.
If you take a look at the charts online, you can even see the data behind the charts. Because it's something new that our IT person showed me.
Excellent. Thank you. Yes, I know we've referred back to them, and it is helpful to have this in a comprehensive way. And I would think that it would be helpful to other jurisdictions as they think about whether they want to have a program like this, and that over time it will give us the ability to watch trends over time. So this is very helpful. Thank you again to all of you. Is there any public comment on the public finance report?
David Pilpel, I too share appreciation to staff for both running the program and creating the evaluation report. There's only one number that I can't seem to reconcile, the total third-party spending on the top of page 6, and then at the bottom of page 6 doesn't seem to add up, so maybe staff can reconcile those numbers before publishing the final. It's close. It's very close. It's 2569, 245, I think, up top, and slightly different on the bottom. But in any event, this really is helpful to look at the range of candidates and their experience, and it does build on the body of information that's accrued over time as we look at this program, tweaks to it, and this may have some evidentiary value in the future in the event that that becomes necessary. So good work to staff. Thank you.
Thank you very much. With no action is required of us at this point, so we will move to the minutes of the meeting of February 27th, which was a regular meeting, and the special meeting of March 9. Commissioners, do you have any corrections, changes, or questions relating to the minutes? I actually did. In the minutes from February 27th, I may have been unclear in my comment, but on page 2, fourth paragraph, I believe that my question, the intent of my question, which I may not have communicated, was to ask whether library staff provides training through outside agencies to San Francisco Public Library staff. And I can imagine that I garbled it, but I think if we leave it this way, it creates the impression that I did not want them to do training, and that was not my intent. So if folks are comfortable with making that revision, I think it would be truer to the conversation. Anybody else have any questions or comments about the minutes? Do I hear a motion to approve the February 27th minutes?
So moved.
Second. Public comment?
David Pilpel, on the February 27th minutes on page 5, the public comment that I made there, I think that could be misinterpreted, and perhaps rewording it would be better.
Are you speaking about the first or the second?
The second sentence, where he also stated that 2 current College Board members should not be on the BDR list. I think what I was referencing is it would be nice if efforts were made to resolve the issues so that they were not on the list, not that they were incorrectly listed. And I think
Right.
I'll leave that to staff to word that in a way that makes sense.
Okay, I understand that change. Is that sufficient, Mr. Chatfield?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. There's a motion to approve the minutes of February 27th. That's okay, we can do them separately. February 27th, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, as amended, with those 2 changes. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you very much. Okay, and March 9th, special meeting minutes. Any questions or comments from the commissioners? Do I hear a motion?
Also move.
Second.
Public comment?
David Pilpel again, 2 clarifications. On the top of page 2, again, the first reference to DCA Shen, I think should be spelled out, Deputy City Attorney. And again, on my public comment, the second paragraph, sentence that started, he stated that there could be a possible lawsuit regarding treating incumbents differently from other candidates. I'm not sure if I actually referred to a possible lawsuit. I may have referred to a possible problem or concern. If I said lawsuit, then feel free to use that. If I didn't, I think concern or problem is a better word. And the next sentence, he also suggested moving the filing deadline back to election minus 146 days. The proposal actually changes it to the election minus 146 days. I supported retaining it at the election minus 88 days. So again, it just needs to read better. And that was so as not to extend the campaign season. Again,
So are you suggesting, he also suggested moving the filing deadline back to election minus 88 days?
In order not
to extend, in order not to extend?
Yes.
Or in order to avoid extending? Okay.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. We have a motion on the table to approve the minutes of March 9th with those 2 changes. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you very much. And it's now time for the Executive Director's report. Mr. Sincrack.
Just a couple of things. The matter regarding the sheriff that you mentioned earlier, scheduling is proving to be very difficult. So please bear with me as I try to get those dates, because I have to get all 5 of you and the mayor's representatives and the sheriff and his representative in the same room on the same day. There's only 2 rooms that we really have available, and they're booked heavily. So I will continue to keep working on that. Yes.
Have you found days that all the people could do it, but the rooms are not available?
Yeah, well,
fresh.
what I do is, when I send dates to you, those are days that rooms are available.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wouldn't ask you, can you make it on a day when there's no point?
Right.
And then
But there are days,
synthesize-
right, but there are days that you haven't tried because the rooms aren't available.
Right, exactly.
Does it look as if we may be able to have at least the initial meeting in April?
Yeah, but it's not going to be like the first week, probably not the second week. But I don't want to speculate too much because I just don't know. And I don't want to leave anybody with the impression that we know
That we
when
know
it is.
something because we don't.
It's even though there are two dates that may be likely, I don't want to burn it in anybody's memory. So I will continue to stay in touch with you on that. The measure on public financing that the commission adopted, it will be at the Rules Committee this Thursday. So I'll be covering that, and I'll keep you posted. I expect it then to go to the full board next Tuesday. And then I will be testifying at the State Assembly in Sacramento on May 1st before the Elections Commission. Assemblymember Amiano has introduced a measure that will allow us to move forward with all electronic filing, which has been a priority of ours for a long time. So this is very good news. The city's Legislative Affairs Committee has voted to support the legislation. They normally only vote, well, actually, they voted to sponsor it. They normally only vote to oppose it or support it, so this takes one step further. So it's been endorsed by the city itself, and I found out this afternoon that the FPPC staff is recommending that the FPPC also endorse the legislation at their April 5th meeting. So that's good news for us. And then, and I believe that it's got fairly smooth sailing ahead. So this would be a good chance for our San Francisco, once again, to sort of take the lead in doing something new, i.e. all electronic filing, which for a lot of reasons saves not only staff resources, but all kinds of paper and other things.
So is this legislation to allow San Francisco to do it,
Correct.
or all cities?
It's just us. Well, it's not all, that's completely wrong. I'm sorry. What it does is it allows jurisdictions whose local legislature give them permission to. So it would be anybody who wants to do it,
Right.
but they have to get the permission, in our case, the Board of Supervisors. You know, where I'm confident we would have. And I'm sorry, I was completely
That's okay.
out in
It's
the
not
field there.
specific to us, but others are not,
Yeah.
as far as we know, ready to do this.
A lot of people aren't ready for it. I think most people aren't ready, but we are, and I think we can set a model for how to do it and do it right. So this is a very good thing.
Commissioners, any?
I don't have a direct question regarding your report, but I do have a question going back to some of the earlier public comment. Is it appropriate for me to pose that question at this time? And that is when we have made a ruling, such as in the case of the Library Commission president, are there any other further steps that we can take to urge the mayor to make a decision or to take some action? Or essentially, we make a recommendation, and that's the end of it in this particular case, or similar cases?
I don't know that there's nothing official that empowers the commission to do anything like that. But there's no prohibition on you determining that you wish to send a communication like that. You would have to, the chair would have to calendar it so that you could discuss it and then determine what message, if any, you wanted to send and go from there.
I'd be comfortable since it needs to be on the agenda for us to discuss an action that we might want to take, what would you think of our suggesting to Commissioner, to chair her, that he put it on the agenda for our next meeting?
That probably would be a good idea, because my concern is that when we take an action and then there's no further action at the next step in the process, it really does, I think, harm the image of the Ethics Commission, even though it's out of our hands. But I think that would, some discussion about that perhaps would be valuable. Should we run into these cases again, and certainly not in the upcoming hearings that we're going to hold, because that's a little bit different. But there may be other situations where we rule on something, but it's not clear what further action will be taken, if any.
I think we can make that suggestion to the chair and encourage him to bring forward the options that we might have for doing something further.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for the Executive Director? Public comment?
David Pilpel, 3 brief points. On page 3 of the report, there's a typo on the second line, makes reference to the Commission's October and November 2012 meetings. I think this was in a previous report as well. I'm not aware that those meetings have happened yet, but I look forward to them. With respect to the testimony in Sacramento, if there are prepared remarks that the director is delivering, if those could be attached to a future director's report, I think it would be good to memorialize those. I think that is actually a very good effort on the city's part, advancing the cause of electronic filing statewide. And finally, the report does not remind people that Form 700 annual filings are due next Monday, not later than. So we would like people to comply and file them on a timely basis rather than having to deal with non-filing and late filing after the fact. This is a public service announcement.
I didn't follow your first item. What meetings were you referring to?
On page 3, the second line, the top.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's all. Thank you very much.
There's one other item that I'll just mention. You've advised us that you are continuing to seek a time for a joint meeting with the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force, and you may just want to share that on the record.
Well, we had the dates that we had sent them included April 13th, which is the date that they chose that they want to meet. Unfortunately, they took 2 weeks from when I sent them potential dates to answer. And by the time they answered, there were no more rooms available on the 13th. So I'm trying to get someone who's got a reservation to move the time to accommodate. So that date is still on the table, but I'm working on suitable space.
And if that were to happen, it would be the afternoon of the 13th?
Yeah, at I believe 2 to 5. Either 1 to 4 or 2 to 5. But I'm thinking it's 2 to 5.
Okay.
And on that point, David Pilpel, although I recognize that legislation now requires televising these meetings and special meetings of the Commission, I'm not sure that requirement extends to special joint meetings with the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force. So if one of the issues is room availability of room 400 and 416, I would be of the opinion that special joint meeting need not be televised. The revolution, however, will be televised. Never mind. Thank you.
A little bit of history. Thank you very much. We've concluded the executive director's report item. Are there any items for future meetings? Commissioners, do you have any suggestions beyond the one that we've just noted for future meetings?
Then I'll communicate that to the chair.
Okay. Is there any public comment? We go right to item 9, right? We
You need public comment on both items.
Okay. Public comment, we're inviting public comment on items for future meetings. And I'll segue, seeing none, public comment on matters appearing or not appearing on the agenda that are within the jurisdiction of the Ethics Commission. Seeing none, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
A little competition for that opportunity. I heard Commissioner Rennie first, and so you will second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Good evening.